Salah ad-Din's family and upbringing lineage. Salah ad-Din was of a noble, high-born Kurdish family that ruled Egypt and Greater Syria, what is now Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine. It was called the Ayyubid state. The family ancestry is traced back to the noblest Kurdish tribe, Ar-Rawadiya from Hazian, which was one of the largest Kurdish tribes. Some historians stated that Salah ad-Din's genealogy /vast traced back to Madar of Adnan. Undoubtedly, they wanted to trace the lineage of every great character to the Arabs. This surely disagrees with the methodology of research and with fact. They thought that virtues and morals are confined only to Arabs, as if non-Arabs could not establish culture or glory. If we read history and search for our great figures, we will find that most of those who played a great role in establishing culture and civilization were non-Arab. But by falsely tracing all great characters to the Arabs, such historians encouraged unjust fanaticism and discrimination, which are not allowed by the principles of Islam. The Quran declares, "The believers are nothing else than brothers." Al-Hujra 49:10. Verily, the most honorable of you in the sight of Allah is that, believer, who has at-taqwa is pious and righteous. Al-Hujra 49:13. Then what message, after that, will they believe in? Salah ad-Din was the son of the Kurd Najm ad-Din Ayyub ibn Shadi ibn Marwan. We will touch on the early life of his family and its important deeds. Birth. Sultan Yusuf Salah ad-Din was born in 532 AH, 1137 CE, in the castle of an ancient village called Tikrit near Baghdad. The Persian kings had built the castle on the Tigris River a long time before to store ammunition and serve as a surveillance post. The Muslims conquered Tikrit in 16 AH during the caliphate of Umar ibn al-Khattab. It remained under the control of different Muslim leaders. When the Seljuk Turks came to power, Najm ad-Din Ayyub ibn Shadbai, Salah ad-Din's father, contacted a major figure in the Seljuk police in Baghdad named Mujahid ad-Din Baraz. He appointed Ayyub as a commander over Tikrit Castle with his brother Shirkuh Asad ad-Din as an assistant. The two brothers thus moved from the village of Duan in Azerbaijan into Iraq. They were from the Rawadian Kurds and came to Tikrit in order to work in Baraz's police. Strangely, Salah ad-Din was born on the very day on which Mujahid ad-Din Baraz exiled Najm ad-Din Ayyub and his brother Shirkuh because the latter had killed one of the castle guards who had slanderously accused a woman of being unchanged. Shirkuh killed him when the woman asked for his help. At the beginning, Mujahid was confused whether to expel or leave them. Then he decided to expel them, fearing the guard's family would take revenge. He expressed fear for them and advised them to depart at night. They took their families and the newborn Yusuf Salah ad-Din and departed to Mosul. Ibn Kabaylakan stated in his book Wafa al-Ayan that Ayyub became so pessimistic for the newborn, believing that calamity was portended by his crying at their departure, that he wanted to kill him. Someone warned him, "Sir, do not be pessimistic for the newborn, as he knows nothing. This is divine destiny. How can you know but that he might become a famous king and a great character in the future? So, take care of him, as he does not realize your pessimism." These words had an influence on Ayyub, and he soon returned to his senses and to the path of Islam. Upbringing. Ayub and Shirkuh left Baghdad to Mosul and stayed with Imad ad-Din Zanki, the ruler of Mosul. He welcomed them and gave them gifts because they had saved him from being killed or taken as a prisoner of war when he was fighting against the Seljuks when Baruz was the governor of Baghdad. We mentioned previously that Ayub and his brother were appointed as commanders over Tikrit and its castle. When Imad ad-Din Zanki was defeated by the Seljuk ruler, he withdrew with his troops and passed through Tikrit. Najm ad-Din Ayub detained him for a while. Najm ad-Din had two choices, to kill or imprison him. However, he preferred to release him and help him to get to Mosul. Imad ad-Din did not forget the favor. When the two brothers arrived in Mosul, as we have mentioned above, he generously gave them land on which to live. The family lived well under the patronage of Imad ad-Din. Moreover, he appointed the two brothers as commanders over the army. When Imad ad-Din occupied Baalbak in 534 AH, he appointed Najm ad-Din Ayub as a governor over it. This appointment indicated Imad ad-Din's confidence and trust in Najm ad-Din and his dependence on him. Salah ad-Din spent part of his childhood in Baalbak, where he lived the best days of his life. He learned horsemanship, trained for war and jihad, and practiced politics and management. The poet declares, "Boys are brought up according to the ways of education the father used to follow." After Imad ad-Din's son, Nur ad-Din, occupied Damascus in 1154 CE, Salah ad-Din spent some of his best days in Damascus where his bravery and strength were perfected. He had a high status and the respect of the son of Damascus ruler. He became well known for his calm, polite and pious character. He also burned with zeal for Islam and Muslims. In Nur ad-Din's time he was appointed as the head of the police in Damascus. He succeeded in the new office, cleaning up Damascus of criminals and robbers and regaining stability and security. The people lived in safety and calm under his administration. Hassan ibn Numair, nicknamed Arkala, rejoiced in Yusuf Salah ad-Din's office and success, as he said in a poem. "Zero robbers of Syria, take your time, then I will advise with my words. Yusuf has come to you, whose name is like the Prophet Yusuf, insightful and handsome. That one cut women's hands and this one cuts off robbers' hands. The period he spent in Egypt was the most important in forming his heroic and military experience. Shahyr as-Sa'd revolted against the Cairo-based Fatimid Caliph Al-Adid in 558 AH and sent to Damascus to ask the aid of Nur ad-Din Mahmud. He accepted to help him. He provided him with troops led by Asad ad-Din Shirkuh, who took his nephew Salah ad-Din with him. Salah ad-Din displayed great skills and military genius in the arts of war and fighting. As a result, they triumphed over the enemy and joined Egypt to Nur ad-Din Mahmud's kingdom in 564 AH. To sum up, in his early life and in the second and third decades of his youth, Salah ad-Din was brought up on good virtues and noble qualities. He acquired the military skills, deep-rooted customs, Islamic zeal, and literary and financial boldness by means of his companionship with kings and princes. This formed his unique, excellent character that changed the course of history. Education. Salah ad-Din spent his early years in Baalbak. Naturally, his place of education changed from one city to another. He learned how to read and write, memorized the Quran and the rules of Arabic language as children of Muslim noblemen used to learn. The author of Tabaqat ash-Shafiyah stated that Salah Uddin learned hadith from Al-Hafiz as-Salaf, Ibn Auf, an-Nazabari, and Abdullah ibn Bari. He was a jurist, a reciter of Quran, and an enthusiastic poet. Historians agree that most scholars came from east and west, from Samarkand and Cordova, to Damascus in order to teach and learn in mosques and schools. Certainly, Salah ad-Din learned from most of them, especially Abdullah ibn Abi Yasrun, who lectured in Al-Umayyi Mosque. He was brought to Damascus by Nur ad-Din, who built schools in Damascus and the major cities of Syria to teach people and spread knowledge. Abi Yasrun occupied such a high position that he became the head of judges in Damascus. Salah ad-Din respected the scholar and took care of him, especially when he lost his eyesight. Salah ad-Din was very skillful in riding, javelin throwing, hunting and military arts because the environment in which he lived excelled in these fields. As a result, he acquired experience and could lead soldiers and wisely solve dilemmas in wars. Besides, he had the basic characteristics to be a great fighter: talent, intelligence, heredity, environment, training, and education. It is rare to find such characteristics in one person. Other characteristics that made him a great figure were his steadfast heart and balanced intellect when others had lost heart and reason. For example, during the conquest of Syria, he was told that his brother Taj-i-Muluk was killed. Then he learned of the death of his brother Al-Malik-i-Muzaffar after the defeat of Acre. The latter was one of the best engineers in fortifying, safeguarding, and organizing castles. However, the bad news did not affect him in battles. In sum, from the previous glance at Salah ad-Din's early life, we realize that he was a skilled politician, an experienced leader, a trained fighter and an exalted scholar. It was as if destiny wanted him to be a champion in the Battle of Hattin, to strike terror in the hearts of the Crusaders, to become well known in the East and West, to set a good example for future generations, and to be recorded among the great figures of history. How impossible for mothers to give birth to another like Salah ad-Din with his zeal and bravery, the defense of the stronghold of Islam and the land of the prophets.